Hello, Marvin.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. Just made a video and yeah, it was funny.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, so
It'll it'll pop up. You'll see it. It's I'm sorry I had to do it because I got attacked by a couple trolls last night on some of my videos.
oh
So
man.
I made a video called "My Love for Trolls."
Okay. Well, uh, most of us don't put up with trolls, so
I couldn't help it. I had to do it.
yeah. I had thought about responding to some trolls, but that just all it does is add fuel to the fire or whatever. And
Oh no,
people,
this one's comedic. I really went out and I was thanking them.
okay. Well, there's somebody watching us on YouTube already, so and I've invited Eric, right? He goes by a different name now.
Miko.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm in either case, he's invited. So I know he had to go out of town or something, so he may not be back in town. But I tell you one thing: the weather, you, it was so nice today. It's a
Yeah.
little on the it's a little on the warm side. It got up to like maybe 85 or 86 or whatever, but that's better than rain. So we can start to dry out maybe a little bit. So
Yeah. We we're getting thunderstorms coming tomorrow.
yeah, yeah. Well, I had prepared my list of topics for this evening, and then some weird things happened on Friday and this morning. So we may change it up a little bit. I still want to talk about the topics so I have lined up for whatever. So and I'm real excited. So
Sounds good.
yeah. Hmm. You have a couple of minutes before the official starts. So, but I'm already broadcasting live. So it just
Yeah, no
seems
worries.
it just seems to work out better if I go ahead and start to broadcast. I can post things better. It seems like so, but and I keep getting
Well,
invites for Jamie's hangout tomorrow. So I'm
yeah, it's going to
certainly
be
going to
good
be
to
there.
actually see Jamie because it's been a while.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to try to do a little bit better job of monitoring the YouTube side of it. So, but
Yeah,
I think
tomorrow I got to go to the Comcast store. They sent me a new modem, and I was having technical difficulties today with the internet connection. Like everybody in my house, all our devices
yeah,
are all running slow. The web pages are taking forever to load. They're crashing on us on everybody's devices. Our phones won't even get Wi-Fi signal in the house with this new modem.
hmm,
So for right now, I had my Netgear router hooked up as well to it, so we can hook up to the Netgear. But that's still even giving us problems off of that. So what I did is I disconnected the new modem they sent us and tried hooking up the old modem,
yeah,
and that won't connect because it's outdated. They won't. The software won't work anymore. So I was like, well, what do I do now? I have no way of getting on the internet. So
hmm,
they helped me get the one modem up and running so I can get on, and I hooked up the Netgear router again so I can get a better signal than what was coming off their modem because the modem they gave me keeps on disconnecting and won't send the Wi-Fi signal out that everybody can connect to. So I got to send that modem back, get a
yeah,
new modem, and then hopefully that'll fix all the problems.
yeah.
Because
My dad's setup, he has some kind of a wireless setup or whatever, but I'm sure there's a modem in there someplace because we have AT&T, so it has to come into the house some way, and then it gets becomes wireless at some point or whatever.
well, yeah, well the new
So
modem
I'm
that Comcast is making, they have the Wi-Fi built into the modem.
hmm,
It's all one device. You don't need the router plus a modem. You don't need a
hmm,
wireless router plus the modem. the Netgear, that wireless router I have, I had to hook back up so we can at least get signals in the house, because the wireless that's built into the modem is junk.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I've got 7 o'clock Central Time, so it'd be 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and I want to go over the housekeeping first, like I always do. Please be respectful of each other's opinions or whatever, and we want to keep it PG. We are here to share ideas and to have fun, and all ideas will be considered or whatever. So, and if you'd like to post ideas for future topics that you'd like to see discussed in the Hangouts, and also I am looking for a co-host, someone that would be willing to lead the discussion on maybe one of the topics, and someone that would be a substitute host in the event that I have to miss a Sunday. So if you're watching on YouTube, be thinking about that. And so that concludes the housekeeping stuff. I already touched on a couple of things that happened during the course of like the last 72 hours. The first one is Dennis Hastert, and I was not really going to talk about him tonight, but we may get into his comments in the freeform section of the program or whatever. But really, very, very disappointing about him, because he was held up to be such a moral character type of guy when they elected him Speaker of the House. And this was after Gingrich had to resign because of some ethical failings, and also the senator or the congressman from Louisiana, Mr. Livingston, he had to drop out because there again he was having some ethical difficulties or whatever. And so it just it makes you wonder. It really does.
Pelosi was the Speaker of the House.
Not anymore. She was for a while, and she it's the guy's name is I call him Speaker Bonehead, but that's not his name. It's Boehner. It's Boehner, and I think it's a German name, because it's not spelled like I would spell Boehner or whatever. So, but there again, I figured out I was mispronouncing Leicester wrong. The English city that it looks like it's spelled Leicester, but it's actually pronounced Leicester. So, but anyway, I'm really disappointed in that. And this morning I got up and I heard about the vice president's son who had passed away. He had been Attorney General of Connecticut, Beau Biden, and he had also been in the National Guard, had served in Iraq as part of our troops over there or whatever, and he succumbed, I guess, overnight to brain cancer, which they had thought they had gotten, but brain cancer is a very, very difficult cancer to treat to begin with, because of the structure of the brain or whatever. So I feel very, very bad for the Biden family. They've had tragedy after tragedy after tragedy or whatever. And I actually like Vice President Biden. He's very, very good at vice president. He was a great senator or whatever. So I feel our thoughts and our prayers go out to the Biden family. And the other thing I heard this morning, which is not in my notes, but I just remembered it, was John Kerry broke his leg, the Secretary of State, bicycling. I guess it was it was probably yesterday morning, bicycling in, he wasn't in Switzerland, he had crossed the border, and I think he was in France or whatever. But anyway, I'm trying to figure out how do you break your leg on a bicycle? I mean, I can't figure that out unless he drove off of a hillside or something, and I just can't fathom that. But anyway, so it's been a tough weekend for people in and out of government. So those are the things that I just wanted to bring up that I'd mentioned. And now we'll get into the first topic, which is third parties. And I haven't heard a peep out of any third parties so far this election cycle or whatever. And you would think with as many different layers of social media as we have, the different platforms and what have you, that they'd be making some kind of a stink on one of the platforms, but I haven't heard anything. I think the third parties are trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, they're trying to graft themselves onto a major party, and I just don't see that how that's going to work, because you dilute your message or whatever. Um, the senator from Vermont that's running for president, whose name I can't remember right now, Bernie something or another. I like him. I'm not sure I would vote for him or whatever, but I was kind of disappointed that he decided to run as a Democrat, because in the Senate he serves as an independent. So I thought he'd go the independent route or whatever. And he still might. He still has that capability, I think. Like John Anderson in 1980. John Anderson was in the Republican primaries. Didn't do too well. Didn't do too bad either. But I mean, he could see he wasn't going to get the nomination, so he ran as a third party or whatever, and had a very, very interesting campaign. So I'm still hopeful that we'll get a third party or an independent candidate, but I really don't see any now. Joy, do you have any thoughts on that?
No.
Would you like to see a strong third party? Would you like to have a choice outside of the duopoly we have in Washington right now?
You know how I feel about government.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just think that that the system is healthier when you have more choices, and sometimes it takes a strong independent candidate or a third party candidate like Ross Perot. Ross Perot in '92, his mantra was get rid of the deficit. And by the time Clinton was finished 8 years later, we were actually running a surplus. So his mantra actually worked or whatever, even though he was not elected president. So that's one thing that the third parties are good at. They're good at shaking up the system. And if a third party does get a certain amount of strength, then one of the other parties will co-opt them, and which is what happened to the Populist Party in the 1890s or whatever. So third parties are good for the system. I don't see a Republican or a Democrat I'm willing to vote for. I don't vote in the primaries to begin with, so I do vote in the general. So I'm looking for a good, strong. Rocky Anderson was the one I voted for last time, the Justice Party, and he has a minimal presence on Facebook and a minimal presence on Twitter or whatever. So he's not. I'm not sure if he's even going to run this time or not. But we'll see. So, any other comments on third parties?
I'm just here to sit back, relax, listen to you, and if anything does come up as far as talking about Biden. Biden was the either the governor or senator of Delaware, right below me.
Exactly. I misspoke a minute ago. I said
I feel bad because I don't know what he's done as far as a politician in the White House.
Yeah.
I don't follow any of it, so I just don't. I know what they do in there. It's nothing any of us want anyway. And that's why I kind of feel bad for him. I don't know if he's just a pawn in it all or just being played, because what he did for Delaware was amazing. I mean, he took there's no taxes in Delaware, because the DuPont companies allowing to open up the casinos in different places and everything else. Nobody had any problems, and everybody liked the guy. I mean, he was just a straight-up guy, quiet, reserved, and just did what he needed to do. I remember Biden, and then when he was running for vice president, it was kind of like, you know what? He is a good dude. He is a good choice for, if you were going to, have a vice president,
Yeah. And
I feel like they took advantage of his character and used it. And now it's like, all this bad stuff's happening to him, and it's like, it's a shame because before he ran for president and did all that, everything. He had a great career in Delaware.
Yeah. Well, thank you for correcting me, because I said Connecticut, and I must have been thinking of Joe Lieberman or whatever, but you're right, it is Delaware, and I don't know, is he? Uh, I don't know that I agree with all of his political views or whatever, but he just seems like a decent person or whatever. He's a great speaker. If someone dies or whatever, he makes a great a speaker on those, which is what the vice president is supposed to do. For the most part, he has carried the president's water, and then, but now on occasion he has disagreed with the president, which I think is important. Sometimes the president needs to hear the opposing view or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, they're running as a team together.
Yeah, yeah. So, but otherwise, you develop a bunker mentality or whatever, and that's not good. That's not good at all. But so I just feel bad for the man. You know, he lost his first wife and his daughter in a car accident, and so he only had the two sons, and then he, of course, remarried or whatever. And I don't think he and his second wife had any children. But anyway, so he's lost two of his children or whatever, and plus his first wife, and I'm sure it's a very tough time for him right now. But I think he's a decent man. Sometimes he makes some gaffes or whatever. He's kind of like your uncle, you know. He comes to the Christmas party and he always makes everybody laugh or whatever. So I feel really bad about him. Let's get into this immigration reform, and I'll be honest with you. I don't think we're going to get any answers this election cycle or whatever, because it's such a hot issue. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is there's this sheriff in Arizona, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he's been on the news. He's the one that arrests all the illegal immigrants as they come over from Mexico or whatever. And yeah, so I want to say it's Mayacopa or something like that or whatever. But anyway, there was this story that I came across. In the last year, he's prosecuted something like 1,000 cases of illegal immigrants. So why do you think they're coming across the border? Because they get jobs in that county, and so the sheriff, he's only prosecuted like 3 companies, 3 people. In other words, 1,000 people have been arrested because they crossed the border to get jobs at all these companies, but only three companies have been prosecuted or whatever. If I was living in Mexico and I thought I could get me a job in the United States or whatever, I might cross the border. See, the thing about immigration reform, if you want to close the borders, that's fine, you know. But you've got to cut out. You've got to work on both sides of the equation. You've got to work on the business side, and just say, you know, if you hire an illegal alien, we're going to shut you down, you know. Well, we're going to hold you responsible for not double checking their papers or whatever, and then Juan and Pedro and Mexico City wouldn't have a reason to come to our country or whatever. They would stay in their country.
Yes, now I can remember because I ran my father's businesses most of my life, and I have pretty good memory because of one of my altars is called My Father's Son, where I stayed with him and ran all his companies for him and everything. And the one company that we had was a security company that's still around today. And I did all the paperwork, hiring, all that stuff, would actually go out on job sites, do everything for the company. But we weren't allowed to hire an employee without an I-9 filled out.
Yeah.
And that's it. If they didn't have an I-9 and they were working for the company and we didn't send that information in, we get penalized. You know, it was a big deal. Everybody had to have an I-9 filled out. And if they couldn't fill it out, they couldn't get a job. So that was it. And I don't know. I don't understand. As soon as they put that into motion, all companies shouldn't have been able to hire all these illegal immigrants. My thing is if you want to come into the country, You want to come into the country, do it the right way. Go apply for the paperwork, get your visa so you can get everything you need, and then you start out as an American citizen
Yeah.
coming into the country. You know, do it the right way. Why we have to have all these thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants? And if it's a problem at the border, fine. We just brought all our troops home instead of running all this
Yeah.
Helm 15 program for the next 3 months that they're going to be running in 7 or 10 states. Why not grab
Yeah.
all them troops and put them on the border if they're not doing nothing? Why are you running exercises? Put them on the border. They'll really be working.
I'm all for securing the border. We could, and it doesn't all have to be manpower. We could use drones. We've got drones now or whatever, and so we can keep an eye on the border that way.
There's so many ways of handling it the right way, and the government handles it all the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah. So going forward, if I were the president, going forward, what I would do is I would seal the borders as best I can. I would persecute businesses heavily for hiring illegals. And then the third thing, for the 11, 12 million people that are here, you can't round them up and send them back. You know, some of them have been here for 20 years.
I agree with that. I think there's and you can't. Yeah, you have to blame that on the government. The government messed up on that one.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Blame the people took advantage and got in and did it, but we should have been. You know, the government should have set rules and standards for all that. I mean, I can't go into Mexico and do something without having any kind of paperwork or anything on me saying that I'm going. I can't even visit.
Oh, yeah.
If it's over a 3-month period, you need a visa or something like that. I think, but
Yeah.
it's only ever allowed in another country. I think for a 3-month period, and anything after that, then you have to apply to live there.
Well, now if you live in Guatemala and you cross over into Mexico, they kick your butt back into Guatemala. They don't suffer illegal immigration like we do. They don't have their borders are much tighter than we do. And like you say, if I wanted to go to Mexico and get a job, it'd be very difficult for me or whatever. But we're going to have to provide a path to citizenship or whatever, and I would make it cost them. You know, I'd say you can be a citizen here, but you know you're going to have to pay some kind of a fine or something or whatever. You're going to have to prove that you can speak English, but there needs to be some kind of a path to citizenship, and also to show other people that hey, it's not a cakewalk when you come to America or whatever. You know.
Oh yeah.
And like you say, there's a right way to do it, but we need to bust these companies because, like I say, Pedro and Juan know that there's a job for them in America if they can get to the border. They know some farmer will hire them or some plant, some chicken plant in Arkansas will hire them or whatever. So they know they can get a job here, and we need to send the message that no, you can't get a job here. That our jobs are for Americans first or whatever. And
Right.
and if you want to try to get a green card, try to get a green card.
I actually talked to. I had met one Mexican guy who was here illegally and everything one time, and I asked. I said, "What is why would you do this? Why would you come here and work for such low wages and everything else and slave?" He goes, "You don't understand." He goes, "We come over here, we can make $20,000, take that back to Mexico, and we're rich. We live the
Yeah.
rest of our lives. We can afford a house. We can afford everything off $20,000 American money. $20,000 American money is worth almost 100,000 Mexican pesos." He
Oh
goes,
yeah. I heard about a guy. I didn't actually meet him, but I heard about a guy that went to work for a chicken factory in Gainesville, Georgia, which is one of it's next to Arkansas in chicken production or whatever. Tyson, I think owns. But anyway, this guy stayed in America, worked for 4 years, saved all of his money, you know, and then when he went back to Mexico, he bought a grocery store.
"Mhm."
And so he was set for life at that point, you know, as long as he could keep his grocery store running.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got to work on both sides of the equation. We need to hit the businesses just as hard as people want to hit the people coming across the border. It's
Right.
it's
And then
not fair.
issue with the one thing too is, all right, the illegal immigrants come in and then they start working, but what about the kids that they have in America? Now they're
Yeah,
born in America, even though the parents came in illegally. Those kids are now born American citizens. So you
yeah,
have a tough line drawn right there and trying to say we're deporting everybody. Well, wait, what about the ones that are born here in this country that go to our schools and are a part of the system?
yeah,
Even though
yeah,
the parents didn't do everything right, these kids are now a part of the are part of the American community now.
yeah. That's why I'm saying we need a tough path to citizenship for the people that have been here long enough to have a kid. I mean, think about it. They're not coming across the border to have children. These are people that have been here for a long time or whatever, and have put down roots or whatever. So we need to give them, like I say, a tough path to citizenship, which is, I think Gingrich mentioned that in the last campaign, and he was nearly laughed off the stage or whatever. But that's what it's going to come down to, because we simply can't round up, 11 million people and bust up families and some of these kids came to America when they were 2 years old, so
Yeah,
they don't even speak very good Spanish or whatever. So we're going to send them back.
right.
Yeah, they're 14, 15, 16 years old. Send them back and good luck, buddy.
Yeah, and then it's not fair to those kids at all because they had no choice in the matter. They were just born here, and
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I mean,
But
there's so many things you can do. You could turn around and say, okay, listen, you're here and you have a family. You broke the laws and you violated all of Americans' ideals, but we can't just deport your whole family because now you have a family here.
yeah,
So here's what we're going to do. You're going to be penalized for this amount of money,
right.
and you have to go apply for citizenship. As far as the
And
children, they won't be punished as long as they're legally,
yeah, yeah,
as long as they're legal and they're born legally in the country. If they're born in the country and they're raised here and everything else, and they have legal documentations because they're born in the country, then it's fine.
yeah,
But if you go and have children and don't register them for the United States because you're afraid you might get caught as an illegal citizen, you have to pay a higher penalty for
yeah,
going that route. And you penalize them for it.
yeah.
And if they don't pay the penalty, then you deport them.
So just to summarize what we've come up with here, we want them, the ones that are already here that have been here a while, we want them to pay a penalty, pass an English test or whatever, and then they can become citizens, and then going forward to stop the problem from growing, we want to seal the border so that they can't come across or whatever. We can do that with drones, what have you. Some of our troops maybe. And then the third thing, which to me is the most important thing, we need to come down on the businesses
Yep.
and individuals, that hire these folks and pay them. Well, they're paying them cash under the table, which I don't think is legal either or whatever. So that's my idea. So okay. So we've already covered 2 or 3 topics that I wanted to talk about. So let's talk about American foreign policy. And I'm watching what the president is trying to do in Iran and what he's said he's going to do in Iraq, and he's not going to do it or whatever, and this whole Syria mess and ISIS and everything. And I'm trying to think, if someone said, what is America's foreign policy right now?
I don't think we have one.
No. It's just, maybe it's flip a coin for all I know. He's in the White House flipping coins. This is what we should do in Libya. This is what we should do in Syria, and
I'm not really up to par on a lot of the information, but is it true that we're kind of like backing off of being Israel's ally?
I think that's what it looks like or whatever. We're not as supportive of Israel as we used to be. But there again, he's trying to help the Palestinians or whatever, and that's a very, very difficult call or whatever, because if the Palestinians would lay down their arms and embrace peace and allow Israel the right to exist, then we might could have peace over there. But they're not willing to do that, and sometimes I think Israel goes too far as far as retribution or whatever, you know. So it's a very, very tough call. But there again, I'm not sure what our policy is toward Israel. You know?
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I just catch little snippets once in a while I'm on YouTube, and I'll see like updates of what's going on with like Like, I remember what was just a couple months ago, Netanyahu came over here to address the Senate, and only half of them showed up. Half of them refused to sit there and listen to Netanyahu. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I've never seen no shit like that before, where somebody comes to the country to go talk to us, and half of them just go, well, screw you, we don't want to hear what you have to say. I mean, this is supposed to be our government that works with everybody towards foreign policy, and our elected officials that are supposed to be doing this ain't even doing it. So, really, you're right. What do we have as a foreign policy? I don't know.
Yeah, but in terms of his visit, it was election time in Israel or whatever, and the president was like, should we really do this because it looks like we're trying to affect it? Which America, you know, we always pick sides in countries. That's what we do. You know, we don't come out and say it or whatever, but we always have a dog in those fights. You know, so. And as far as prime ministers of Israel, I would say Netanyahu is a pretty good one. He's a pretty good one. But every member of the Israeli cabinet, if Israel is attacked, every member of the cabinet knows what to do, and that is you defend yourself. We were talking about Delaware. Okay, I'm guessing Israel is probably about the size of Delaware. I may be a little bit off or whatever. But just imagine all the states around Delaware had their armies on the border about to attack Delaware. Okay? You'd become a little bit paranoid too or whatever. And that's Israel right now. Israel at its narrowest point, I think, is 12 miles across or whatever. So you're looking at a country that you can cut it in two just by if you go across that 12 miles, you know, a stretch of land or whatever. So, but my grandfather always said, you don't mess with Israel because God is looking after those people or whatever. And that was his belief, and I kind of believe that up to a certain extent. But they're our number one ally over there in the Middle East or whatever. And you know, there's like I don't know, it's like. They want to get into a fight, and we have to tell them no. So I don't know what the foreign policy is. Syria was our friend, and then they were our enemy, and now they're our non-enemy. And do we want this guy to go? Do we want him to stay or whatever? He's killed I don't know how many thousands of his own people, and so but we'll take down a dictator over here, but this dictator over here, we're going to let stand or whatever. So I don't know what our foreign policy is. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think the Republicans right now have much of an idea what their foreign policy. Santorum, the last couple of days, if I'm not mistaken, I think he said he wants to send troops back into Iraq, which, you know, for what? So we can have more casualties. So we can blood another generation of our children or whatever, send men and women over there, and there'll be less of them coming back home or whatever with less parts. So I don't know. I don't think the Republicans have a very, very good idea of what they want to do either at this point or whatever. And Mrs. Clinton, although she was the Secretary of State for 4 years, as my grandmother would say, she has played shut mouth. She hasn't said anything about what she would do in foreign policy that I'm aware of. This trade agreement, she was for it when she was Secretary of State, but she was against it. Well, now that she's not Secretary of State, she's not saying anything about it or whatever. But But from everything I heard, that it'll be this trade agreement with the Pacific Rim or whatever, all the nations, it'll be kind of like NAFTA. I'm told that it'll be a net loss of American jobs, or the jobs we get won't be as good as the jobs we had before we got them or whatever. So most of the labor unions are against this agreement, and I think I would tend to be against it too or whatever. So I don't know. But anyway, it is 7:30, and we have gone through our 3 topics. So now we can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about.
Let's see. We've been talking about a lot of stuff lately, but right now I actually I saw a comment from Carolyn on my post or my video, and it's towards you. Now,
should we be discussing that? We're still live. We're still live on.
I'm not talking about it. I'm just saying what's going on right now while I'm doing this. You can handle that on your end. Then, other than that,
then maybe we can talk.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah, that's it. I don't want to push it on the live channel.
No. But
other than that,
anyway.
The groups have been settled.
Yeah. So we're not really talking about politics at this point, and I don't have much of an audience right now. So what I'll go ahead and do is, instead of having an hour high chair of hope this week, I was end it right here or whatever. So I'll just remind my YouTube viewers that we'll be back again next week. And next week, the 3 topics will be the Democratic field, the minimum wage, and higher education, and then whatever you guys want to talk about. So we're going to sign off now and cut off the live broadcast, and then we'll go into an executive session or whatever. We can talk about different things. So thanks, everybody, for watching.